As most of you are aware, at our last meeting, which we only had one in July, we accepted the resignation of Mr. Wayne Brookhart, which left us a vacancy on our board. So tonight, we are possibly going to fill that vacancy with our only candidate that applied to fill the vacancy, which I guess, in my opinion, means that we as a board and as administration, as a district as a whole, is doing a fantastic job, or that the 7 of us sitting here are the craziest people in the school district. It's one of the two. So we'll get started with our call to order, pledge, moment of silence, and a roll call then. Mrs. House, when you're ready.
Dr. Faulkner. Mr. Garman.
Here.
Dr. Green.
Yep.
Mr. Gregg.
Here.
Mr. Hoffman.
Here.
Mr. Reichert.
Here.
Mr. Umbriak.
Here.
Mr. Reichert Jr.
Here. Okay, so item number 2, public comment. Public comment, max of 3 minutes for agenda items only. I guess to item 3, board administrative announcements, school board vacancy. I think I've already touched on that a little bit, that there's been a vacancy as of July 9th, 2025, due to the resignation of Wayne Brookhart. The position was advertised as an opening on the board, and the deadline to send the board application packet was July 30th, 2025. As I stated earlier, we had one applicant. She is here with us tonight, which will take us to item number 4, 4.1, interview of candidate. Board will interview Alyssa Patterson, who has applied for the open school board position, which became available due to the resignation of Wayne Brookhart on July 9th, 2025. So, Alyssa, if you'd like, come to the table here, press the button, turn on the microphone, and introduce yourself and tell us why you would like to serve on the Danville Area School District School Board.
Okay, my name is Alyssa Patterson. I'd like to serve on the school board. I was born and raised in Danville, grew up through the school district. I have 2 young children who will be going through the school district in the future. I just want to make sure that their education through Danville was as good as mine was, and I feel like this board and the staff has done a great job so far, and I just want to make sure that it continues going that way.
Anybody have any questions? I know typically one of the questions that was asked, I know was asked of me when I applied, was what do you feel are the functions of the school board? Like, what do you feel like our responsibilities are?
Just to make sure that the education in the school district is keeping up to par and we're spending money properly, taxes, and keeping up with all of the maintenance and everything with the schools, and just making sure that kids are getting the best education they can at Danville.
Anybody else have anything? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Again, since we only had one candidate, I don't think there's any other reason to go on any further with the process. I mean, I think we can take, yeah, we can move to the vote. We can move to 5, appointment of director. Unless anybody has an objection, we can move to number 5 to appoint Alyssa to the board. Not seeing any objections, so we'll move to number 5 then. Appointment of director. The board will take action to appoint Alyssa Patterson as director for the Danville Area School District School Board to replace Wayne Brookhart, who resigned on July 9th, 2025. The appointed director's term will run from August 6, 2025 through December 1st, 2025. The terms of school directors begins and ends the first Monday of December following the November election that year.
Motion.
Second.
Mr. Garmin.
Yes.
Dr. Green.
Yes.
Mr. Gregg.
Yes.
Mr. Hoffman.
Yes.
Mr. Reichard. Mr. Umbriak.
Yes.
Mr. Reichard Jr.
Yes. Welcome aboard.
Welcome. Congratulations.
Now you have to come sit up here. Right now.
Laura needs to,
If you go
Laura
see
needs to administer
Miss
the
Reno
oath.
first, she'll administer your oath here. You could
Come on up here.
and make it official. Now you can join us up here. Welcome.
Put your name on.
Now we're really making it official.
And just to let you know, if we run long, bring senior snacks, because he tends to get grumpy if our meetings run long.
Peanut butter jelly gets cold.
Yeah, if you bring him Oreos, he tends to. So
When
mo-
Sam's here, she could just throw food across.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Sam always
No,
enjoys
sure.
food too.
He prefers donuts, though.
Yeah,
No raw milk.
no wrong. No.
No.
So that'll
not
move
for
us to number 6, public comment. Don't see there is any. So if there is nothing else, I will adjourn this meeting, and I guess we'll move to committee of the whole.
Rinse and repeat.
All right, now I'd like to welcome everybody to our committee of the whole meeting for August. This time, we will have our call to order, pledge, and moment of silence.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States.
Okay.
When you're ready, Mrs. Faust, roll call.
Dr. Faulkner. Mr. Garmin.
Here.
Dr. Green.
Yes.
Mr. Gregg.
Here.
Mr. Hoffman.
Here.
Ms. Patterson. Mr. Reichard. Mr. Umbriak.
Here.
Mr. Reichard Jr.
Here. Item 2, public comment. Max of 3 minutes for agenda items only. No presentation tonight, so we'll move to number 4, academic affairs and mental health agenda items 4.1, our 2024-2025 achievement data, PSSA's, keystones, and AP exams. And
Thank you. I'm going to turn that over to Dr. Reinert, who's going to take us through a few slides this evening. Is there a microphone you could use so they can hear at home? Thank you.
Okay. Go to the next slide, please. We're going to start off by talking about our 24-25 PSSA results. So we will first look at our district-wide math proficiency results. You can see here we have it broken up by 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. Those are our students who are taking the math PSSAs. At the end of last year, the PSSAs were taken in April and into May. And you can see here we have our proficiency for each grade. So 3rd grade, 71% of our students were proficient or advanced, 73 for 4th, 5th, 60th, 6th grade, 46%, 7th, 40th%. I've included the 2024 state averages for proficient and advanced. As you can see in math across every grade level, we have exceeded the state average in proficiency. So that is very exciting. You can see there are some areas where we reached the 70th percentile proficiency and above. So our scores look really great, especially if you compare them to the state averages here. Any questions about the math proficiency? I want to show something next that I think is really exciting. This is showing our cohort growth. So what that means is it's very important for us to not only look at the current school year or the current testing. So our 3rd graders, if you see here in white, we have a 71 percentile like you saw. There are 16 districts within the IU, and our ranking in 3rd grade is the 4th in the IU currently for last year's PSSAs in math. But as you can see, that's in white because our 3rd graders haven't taken this is the first year they've taken a test. So there's nothing to compare their data to. But if you look here, our 4th graders, they scored 73 percentile. They're 2nd in the IU out of 16, which is pretty huge. But if you see here, I have it color-coded in gray. So our 4th graders this year, they scored 73 percentile, 2nd. Last year, as 3rd graders on the PSSA math, they scored a 68% proficient or advanced. That put them in the 6th percentile. So it's important for us to look at cohorts because we can say, as 3rd graders, these students perform proficient or advanced. As 4th graders, you can see they're growing. So it's pretty cool to see every year that our students continue their education or are provided with a different level of instruction. You can see, did that group of students, did they get better? Did they slide? So as you can see here, 3rd to 4th grade, we are also focused on our current 5th graders. As 3rd graders, 56 percentile, 51. As 4th graders, 60th percentile now as 5th graders. So they continue to grow. So you can see the colors as they go for every single grade level. Special attention here to our 4th and 5th graders. Their cohorts showed impressive growth. But throughout the district, again, you can see that our every grade level either increased by growth or academic achievement in math. So definitely something for us to be proud of for our students, our teachers. So kudos to everybody, grades 3 through 8 in the math department. Same thing for ELA proficiency here. You can see we are continuing to either meet or exceed state averages in ELA as well for 3rd through 8th grade. You can see here for 3rd grade, our proficient and advanced, 56%. 4th grade, 68% proficient or advanced, 53 for 5th. 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, they did especially a fantastic job. And here, I just want to shout out a huge kudos to the ELA department, especially Melissa Nugent at the 6th through 8th grade level last year. The TDA scores were fantastic this year across the district. A lot of achievement within our TDA scores. So the writing piece really helped our students in their proficiency levels. So again, you can see that we are either meeting or exceeding state averages at the ELA level, grades 3 through 8. So same thing here, our cohorts. You can see, again, our 3rd graders, 56%. They're 7th in the IU out of 16. Our 4th graders, 2nd in the IU in ELA. They had cohort growth in rank. Last year as 3rd graders, they also had a 68th percentile proficient or advanced. But Within the IU, they performed 6th. They bumped 4 ranking positions to 2nd in our IU out of 16, so very exciting data. Again, we are seeing a lot of cohort growth across the board. Special attention as well as 4th grade, our 8th grade ELA department. They went from 40th% proficient advanced last year as 7th graders to 60th, 20% cohort growth in proficiency. And they are now 3rd in the IU. So again, kudos to our teachers, kudos to our students. There is a lot of awesome work being done at grades 3 through 8 in the district. Our Keystone results, 24-25. So first off, we'll start off with our Keystone or Algebra 1 results. They have a 64.6% proficient or advanced. That's 2nd in the IU out of 16. So our Algebra 1 Keystone scores were pretty solid. If you want to go to the next slide. This just breaks down by grade cohorts. So our 7th graders, 41 students took the Algebra 1 Keystone, which is a pretty great number for 7th graders. So we have a lot of really determined, intelligent 7th graders. If you can see here, 95% of our 7th graders out of 41 students, 95 as well % of our 8th graders performed proficient and advanced on the Keystones, Algebra 1 Keystones in middle school. So what this means is these students now, our 7th graders, our 8th graders, they don't have to take this Keystone test as high schoolers. So their schedule now can accommodate higher level classes because they're done with their Keystones. Keystones are a graduation requirement. We have Keystones in Algebra 1, literature and biology, as you'll see, but these 7th and 8th graders have already taken and passed those exams, so they're going to be able, like I said, to fill their schedules with higher level classes, which is really exciting for them. So the data looks great at the middle school. So kudos to the students at the middle school. Kelly Michaels is one of our Algebra 1 teachers, does an amazing job. Here we see our high school results for Algebra 1 Keystones. 9th grade did a fantastic job. 36 students performed 53% proficient or advanced. Our 10th grade students, so there's 28 of our 10th grade students who took the Keystones. It's important to note that we do start Algebra 1 in 7th grade. Our higher level students in 7th and 8th grade are taking those Keystones. 9th graders, Algebra 1 is still a class that a lot of our students, if they hadn't already taken them in 7th and 8th grade, they're going to try to take them in 9th grade. And our 10th grade Keystones provides a lot of support for students, provides a lot of higher order thinking skills. Our students here are doing a great job. A lot of the scores in this area were very, very close to proficient. So those students as 11th graders, their path, it'll have to be decided how to support them as 11th graders, whether they follow a different path in terms of taking Algebra 1 or continuing on to geometry or a different level of math. Here you see our Keystone literature results. We had 72.6% proficient or advanced, 3rd in the IU out of 16. Our Keystone literature scores, the students did an awesome job here. So as you can see, we had an overwhelming amount, 96% of our 9th graders, 48 students, passed the Keystones proficient or advanced. And then our 10th graders, we had 116 students and also did a fantastic job. So in order to pass the Keystones, students have to get a 1,500 on their Keystones out of 1,800. And as you can see, our students did a fantastic job.
I think important to point out here on the Keystone Literature results, and would want to thank the board for this. This is just the 2nd year that we've had 9th grade students take the Keystone exam. That used to be strictly a 10th grade course. And we've changed our trajectory in high school to make room for AP Seminar. And so really excited that we're identifying the group of students that are ready to do that as 9th graders, as you can see from their success. We will move into AP results in a little bit, and you'll see similar success in AP seminar. So really excited that we have more opportunities for students in English now, so they can get their Keystone exam done as ninth graders, and we have opportunity now in English for AP seminar, AP research, AP Lang, and AP Lit. So a lot of advanced opportunities for kids, and they're obviously meeting those high expectations. So certainly congratulations to our English department at the high school.
Here are our biology results, 60.9% proficient advanced, or 5th in the IU. And we had 36 ninth grade students take this test. They did a fantastic job, and 90 of our 10th grade students as well, 52% proficient or advanced on the biology keystones.
Just so you all are aware, we won't see them till next year's data, but we did do a course redesign for biology. So right now we have opportunities for extra time in both algebra and English before you're taking a Keystone course. And now in biology, students can take basically like a Bio 1 freshman year and a Bio 2 sophomore year to try to help the trajectory in the 10th grade. So the first time we offered that was to last year's 9th graders. So that'll be the first cohort that's in this year's 10th grade class. So we'll be looking forward to seeing those 10th grade results at the end of this school year.
Lastly, we have our AP report. So our total number of AP students this year that took the test is 202 students. That's 37 more students this year that took the test than last year. We had 437 total exams. So out of the 202 students that took the AP classes, we had 437 exams. And we had 164 students who scored a 3 or better. A 3, 4, or a 5 allows our students to then get college course credits. So this is really huge. And our total percentage of students with a 3 or above was an 81. So again, like Dr. Need had said, this is in part to the fact that we are allowing students, more students than ever before, the option to take AP classes. The accessibility has grown for our AP classes at the high school, and that's kudos to Dr. Gump, Mr. Verholic, Mr. Moser. They were instrumental last year in making sure that the AP classes were something that any student in the high school, if they were interested in taking an AP class, they're able to enter that class, whether it's previous grades, whether it's a meeting with Dr. Gump and Mr. Verholic, and talking about whether or not these classes really are related to things that they want to do in their careers, but we're not closing the doors for kids. We're giving every possible opportunity for every one of our students to take these AP classes. And you can see that our high accessibility now is only leading to higher achievement. So all of the things that were done last year to make sure that students had this access to these types of classes is paying off, because our students are capable of high achievement, and this just proves that. So again, kudos to everybody at the high school level last year, Dr. Gump, Mr. Verholic, Mr. Moser, Dr. Need, who spent a lot of time just making sure that these programs were accessible to our students.
If I were writing a newspaper headline, I'd write it about this. But it truly is a really big deal to expand accessibility in number of tests that students are able to take, but also actual students taking it. So like 37 more students than have ever taken it before trying an AP course. Why that's a big deal is because an AP course is the closest we can provide to a college level course. So before you spend money on your college degree, you're trying out what that level of thinking is like here with us. And just like kudos to our AP teachers. So just so everyone knows, the College Board sets the curriculum for that. So our AP teachers go off and do additional training, and then they have to backwards map from that test to provide instruction. And they do an exceptional job of getting students to that end line. So it is a really big deal to be hitting 81% and offering it to more kids. There are some school districts that make that more of an exclusive club, and that's not the philosophy that we're taking in Danville.
You want to give them the headline? Danville expands access to AP courses for
And increases
All-
achievement.
Increases
Yes.
achievement while
for
doing
all levels
so.
of children.
Thank you.
Yeah. So not only are we increasing accessibility to students, but we're adding classes. So last year, AP Seminar was added. Allie Deal was a brand new teacher last year. Mr. Ryan, if you can. This just shows how the progression, the achievement has grown. Again, as students, as we are allowing and offering this to more and more students at the high school, we just keep seeing more success. So 81%, again, is huge. And Mr. Ryan, if you could go one more. So this is just breaking down every single, there's 2 slides here. I couldn't fit it all on one page. That's how many AP classes we offer. But we are offering an incredible amount of classes to our high school students. And this is just totaling and showing you a 1 or a 2 does not allow students to then earn college credits, but a 3, 4, or 5 does. And you can see that in almost all of our classes, the majority of students are either 100% achieving proficiency or pretty close to it. So I want to point out on the next slide, thank you. AP Seminar, like I had said, Miss Allie Deal was a brand new teacher last year. AP Seminar was added to the program of study, and Allie Deal took that over. Like Dr. Need had suggested or had said, it's a lot of work to teach an AP class. This is a high-level class, and the College Board controls what this curriculum looks like. So there's a lot of behind-the-scenes work that a teacher goes into to teach an AP class. And AP Seminar, last year she had gone to some trainings over the summer. She did a lot of work, and her class, brand new, 38, so 97% of our students that took AP Seminar, a brand new class with a first-year teacher, passed. 97% of students that took that class received 3, 4, or 5, and that equaled to college credits.
I don't have my glasses on, but it looks like statistics is where the majority of people got 1 and 2s. Is that what I'm reading?
Yes, so.
Yeah. And I would say that statistics is purposely sort of a more open class for us in terms of our math courses. So we are more likely to say, hey, try an AP class here. And so we've sort of expanded opportunity, but certainly there's room for improvement there. But you can see we have high opportunity there and like 51 students taking that. So if someone's saying, hey, I'm just thinking about trying an AP math, that would be the place that we'd say, hey, give that a go, as opposed to like, not that a student couldn't take Calc AB,
Right.
but we'd probably have more conversation about the prerequisites in a situation like that.
Yeah, I don't see it as a sign of failure.
Right.
I'm just was curious.
Yes,
where we were
that's where
getting
it would
the
be.
1s and 2s. Because it looks like most of the other courses we really are not. So, the top one, what, French? I can barely
Yes.
see. Okay. There are only 3 students, right?
And then, so the AP Seminar class, this year we are actually adding AP Research. Mr. Kyle Brady is currently, he is taking classes. He was at a training. He went away for a couple of days. I mean, the amount of work, my eyes have been completely opened to the amount of work that our teachers are putting in. He had, all kinds of things that he had to do to just be able to teach this class, and that's going to be something added in addition. And what's really exciting about adding AP Research, we now have AP Seminar, AP Research this year. That allows our students to then be on the trajectory to earn their AP capstone, which allows them to have just different opportunities as they enter college. So this is, an AP capstone program is something that not a lot of districts offer. And by offering this new AP Research class this year for our AP students, we will have students that are going to be graduating for the first time ever this year to say they have completed the AP capstone. Dr. Gump and I and Dr. Need and Mr. Valholic have been talking about ways to honor our students that are, again, for the first time going to be able to have that indication and saying, I'm an AP capstone student. It's very exciting. But these are just another example of opportunities that we are offering our students. We are making things more accessible, and just showing our students that we believe in them, and we're going to do what we can behind the scenes to make sure that they have any opportunity that they could possibly want, and we're going to make sure that we do our part to offer that to them.
Just so the board is aware and the public watching, in the school board section of our website, we always put all presentations that happen at board meetings, so that if these were specific slides that you wanted to see. But we also, under academics on our website, have a section called student performance data, where you can see our student performance data over the years. These slides will be added to that section. And there's also an explanation of like what PSSA testing is, what Keystone testing is, what AP testing is. So if someone's watching at home or as board members, as you're looking at numbers, maybe without glasses, they will be like permanently available on the website too.
I feel like that was a shot at me.
Sorry, I have my readers proudly on, so I'm right there with you.
That concludes the exam, the assessment scores. Does anybody have any other questions?
So if we were to look back 5 years, and I'm picking that number very specifically, 5 years ago, what would be the difference between the number of kids taking AP now, you think, roughly, versus the kids that were taking AP 5 years ago?
It's growing every year.
Like, are we talking double? Are we talking?
So I would say that this is probably our biggest growth, where we've been like 30 plus students more, because with the addition of AP Seminar, we had like a concerted effort to say we need to increase opportunity. But over the last 2 years since I've been there, there's been growth each additional year. So in the last, I can speak for the last 2.5 years since I've been here, we've had the addition of AP Pre-Calculus, AP Seminar, and now AP Research.
It's roughly a third,
Yes.
right?
And I think that, again, and also you'll see an increase in number of exams, so that we also have students who are AP students expanding and taking additional
So
courses.
stay with me for a second. We track mental health data at the school too, correct?
We do.
Okay. And so do we track use of services as things are currently? So like, do we have numbers? How often does a kid go to a counselor? How often does a kid?
Yeah, like Mr. Kissinger would know like how many appointments they have, and we
How-
could buy specific
how
kid
long
if we
have
needed to
How
talk
long
about
have we
that.
been tracking that?
Just this past year.
Okay, so it's not helpful yet. What I'm going to be interested to see is one of the big objections to the boards 5-6 years ago was that access to AP courses adversely affected mental health, was essentially the argument the board made, which I thought was insane at the time. And I think what we're going to find, we've added a ton more. I don't think we're going to see any difference in the way that kids, even with increased access to resources. So I was just curious if we actually had data that would actually show that already existing.
So unfortunately, prior to Mr. Kissinger being in that role, accurate data was not kept on
Right, that's what I suspected.
mental health appointments. But I would agree with you from an anecdotal place that that wasn't a correct alignment in terms of causation there. I also think that it is important, and I think that our high school counselors, mental health specialists, and administration do a great job of working with kids. It's important to know what the right balance is for an individual student, as instead of making blanket decisions that affect all students. Because there may be a student that could have 5 on their course load and feel great about that, and someone else it's appropriate to have none, and somebody else 1. And our school counselors are meeting with individual kids to have those conversations.
Which is something that in some senses didn't occur quite
Yeah,
as well.
for sure that is a change as well. So in addition to Mr. Kissinger's role as Director of Mental Health, Dr. Gump has made changes to how the high school guidance office operates. And so there are actual like scheduling appointments with every single student face-to-face with a school counselor.
I'll be interested to see what the data looks like 3 years from now. I have a feeling it'll be positive.
And that could be something that as we're using our electronic system that perhaps Mr. Kissinger could pull in the future too, to even understand how many of the conversations have to do with academic stress versus
Right.
kind of other issues.
We'll be able to actually ask those questions, where in the past we couldn't even ask those questions
Right.
to address them. Instead, we were just addressing problems blind.
Making guesses, yes.
Correct. All right, great.
That would take us to our next item, which is 4.2, our 25-26 assessment calendar. So I'd like to thank Dr. Reinhardt for her efforts in putting that together. The physical assessment calendar is in your folders for you to look at, and we'll be asking for approval there. We will continue to do both growth and criterion referenced measures this year so that we can pull that data and make small group and individual student decisions based on data. So it will look very similar to what it has in years past. If you go to the next slide, Mr. Ryan, you'll also just see that there are certain national and state assessments that we have to take that are also listed in that assessment calendar. So you obviously need to take PSSAs and Keystones. You will see also when APs occur. PASA is an alternative assessment for some of our special education students. WIDA is a test that is used for our English language learner proficiency. That is a requirement. And then our students in Spanish take the National Spanish exam. So you'll see those on there in addition to our criterion and norm reference tests. So we'll be asking for your approval of that. And if you advance to the next slide, I'll pause there. Any questions about assessment calendar? That would take us then to 4.3, which is our 25-26 professional development plan. You also have that as a book in your folders. It has a cover that looks like the screen there if you're trying to find it in your mix. And if you go to the next slide, Mr. Ryan, just some highlights of what you'll see in there. So all of our administrative team works together on this document. All of our teachers receive this. So you'll see in there first an explanation of mandated professional developments. We are required to meet certain state and federal mandates in terms of teachers keeping their licenses. And so you'll see an outline of all of those and how we're specifically meeting those in the Danville Area School District. We do have after-school professional development as part of the teacher's contract, and that has been immensely helpful in FaceTime with teachers and getting initiatives off the ground. So you will see in there a calendar of after-school professional developments. Those are planned out for the year, so teachers know the exact weeks they have that or they don't. And we have planned out to the best of our ability a full year's calendar for after-school PD. But we do ask for flexibility because sometimes we have to shift and adjust based on needs we're seeing in a school. But administrators always give teachers a month in advance of the sessions for that month. You'll see an outline of our full professional development days for the year and the events that are planned. Our first 2 professional development days are coming up here in August, so we're looking forward to those. And then you'll just see an explanation of key professional development topics for this year. Any professional development questions or comments? All right, that will take us to finance, and I will turn things over to Mr. Mabus for our 23-24 audit.
Next slide, Mr. Ryan. We'll just do a brief summary of the 23-24 audit that will be on the agenda next week for acceptance by the board.
And that's also in your folder,
Yep.
so you get lots of books
There's
tonight.
Thank you, Mrs. Faust, for providing them a book. The revenues came in at $46.9 million, expenses at $46 million, for a net operating surplus of $852,969. As of June 30th, 2024, the district has $39,640,000 in bond obligations. Our general fund balance, and that would include assigned and unassigned, is $11,650,531. Just to keep in mind where that fund balance sits relative to our expenses, we have approximately $4 million of expenses a month. In our capital funds, which would include Fund 32, which are surpluses that have been compiled over the years, and Fund 39, which are remaining funds from bond obligations, we have $6,451,478. So at this point, we still have one major step to finalize the 23-24 year, and that's to perform the tax collector engagement or audit. And there will be a request for approval of an audit engagement letter for the December 23 tax collector period, and also for the December 2024 period, which would be for the 24-25 fiscal year. We also will be receiving back from CLASIC our PlanCon Part J audit, hopefully by the end of the month, so that can be approved in September, and then the step from there is to get approval from the architects and send that off to the state, so we can finalize the PlanCon Part J audit from 2017. And then next month, we'll be starting our 24-25 audit with CLASIC. we have them scheduled to come out on site in mid-September. So, so we'll be starting the 24-25 audit at a regular cycle, and it's good to only be working in 3 fiscal years at this point. So the audit year, the current year, and then pretty soon we'll start
Planning for the following year.
planning for next school year and the budget year. So
I certainly would like to thank Mr. Mavis and all of our admin office team for their work in catching us up. So it was a tremendous lift and the ground running since he's arrived in Danville, so thank you.
yeah, thank you for that, and I want to also echo the thanks to the team for their efforts on it, not only during the course of the audit, but just through the past several years when there's been multiple transitions in business managers. The fact that that we're able, that things stayed as well on the tracks as they were, it's a testament to the team there. So thank you. Next up, some quick food service updates. First one on the list, if you go back one slide there, we have a gas stove in the middle school that's 8 years old, that's not being used, and we have an offer from the band boosters to purchase that from the district for $550, and so we would be recommending that next week. Those funds have to be deposited in the food service account, but that's really the only stipulation for the sale of that. Second, we'll be having a local provider perform our hood cleaning. We're working on scheduling that with him. And then the final thing I wanted to address was just for our families in regards to the free and reduced meal program. If you are a family that is directly certified for free and reduced meals, in July you should have received a letter or an email from the district indicating your status as such. If you are a family that last year qualified for free and reduced meals through income levels, you should have received a notice in July that there's a grace period until October 6th, wherein your free and reduced meal status then reverts to paid. So if you're in that grouping, you'll need to fill out a new free and reduced meal application, and that's not a Danville requirement, that's a USDA requirement. So please do so. And then of course, that free and reduced meal application is available to all families in the district as well. It's on our website, and it will also be part of the back to year packet as well. So, but that is something that has to be done on a yearly basis, unless you are directly certified, and then that status comes in to Primero Edge from the state. So just something to keep in mind as we start out the school year. Next slide, Mr. Ryan. Wanted to provide a quick budget update at the state level. So first thing, I just went back through, basically the past 10 years and looked at when the state budget was actually passed. So purposely went back that far just so we could see that in the past it has gone as far as March 28th of the budget year. That was a bit of an anomaly. Most of the time it's in July. Occasionally it happens before the June 30th deadline. There's a couple times where it's drug out into the first or second quarter. So what does that mean for Danville? If you could go to the next slide, please, Mr. Ryan. Basically, the impact on Danville at this point is we don't have any impact on our operations for the time being. If this drags out into the second quarter, we do have to start making our major debt payments happen in November. So that does draw down a good bit of cash to make that payment. And if we get to, basically the third quarter of the year, that's where we'll need to start reviewing our cash position once we get into calendar year 2026. Other districts will be impacted much sooner than that. Even some local districts, I know they will already need to start looking at tax anticipation notes come September. potentially even asking for cash advances on funds from the state, to keep their operations going. So
And perhaps just important for people to understand, especially listening at home, but board members too. And so we've entered a new fiscal year on July 1st. So when the state government hasn't passed their budget, we don't get state dollars. That's a considerable portion of our budget. So we're operating without any money from the state right now from essentially July 1st to August 6th. So at some point, we really need that money. So I just wanted to make sure everybody understood there's basically no money coming in from the state when they don't have a budget passed.
yeah, and that's, like I said, or the prior slide shows that it has happened in the
It's
past.
pretty common to
Yeah.
be beyond July 1st,
Yeah,
but it sounds like there's maybe more disagreement at the state level this year because we're a split party state than there has been in the past. So we just want to be honest about where things are.
Yeah, and in the news, you may have seen some discussion of the issues that the state is contending with. Through last spring, we talked a great deal about the way they're structuring education funding, some of the considerations on cyber charter reform, which, that's all. I don't even really want to speculate on what they might or might not do there. But one of the other big issues at the state level is, they also have to look at their fund balance and whether or not, their long-term trajectory is sustainable. And, right now they're looking at a structural deficit as well. So, but
certainly Danville at this point in time will be fine in the
yes.
foreseeable future.
Yeah, so other districts will be impacted far sooner than us, and so usually when that starts to happen, the state will take some action to alleviate that pain, and we'll still be in a good position. So next slide, Mr. Ryan.
I
And
just
this-
wanted to share an opportunity that we could take advantage of. There's an organization called Total Grant Solutions. This company is run by a currently retiring superintendent and his wife, who has been a lobbyist, and they have a team of grant writers. So it's an opportunity to work with them, and what we would do is we would share our needs assessment as a district. They would then seek out grants that meet the needs of the district. They would write the grants for us and support our business office in the administration of the grants received. They currently work with districts across the Northeast. Although they do not guarantee that they will bring in money, they have not brought in less than $250,000 for any district that they've worked on in an area of need for them, and they have brought up to $2 million for districts. The CSIU is working to try to help bring money into our region, and so Total Grant Solutions is providing a cost to the CSIU region of $8.24 a student. That way, smaller districts wouldn't incur the same cost as larger districts. The CSIU right now is willing to cover 50% of the total cost of the district. That would make the cost for us to be about approximately $8,000 for the year. Certainly, even like a grant of $50,000 covers $8,000. I feel like it would be a worthwhile investment, but wanted to bring it to all of you to see what you thought. Based on information from other districts, they're able to seek out government money, private money, things that we may not without someone we don't have a grant writer for the district that would even be aware that exist. We certainly apply for the ones that kind of smack us in the face and we know we need to do, but we don't have a staff member dedicated or who has the time to be widely seeking out
Bless you.
grants.
Bless you.
And we're not currently working with anybody right now.
We are not be breaking any contracts. And again, they do not guarantee, so I feel like a worst case scenario is a wasting of $8,000, but there's no evidence that that's ever happened to any district. Any questions or thoughts there? That would take us to long-range planning. 6.1 is just letting you know that at next week's meeting, the board will be approving the Ironman Foundation inaugural Board of Directors members. There are 15 people who've expressed interest in doing that, and the bylaws allow for 15 members to that inaugural class. Once that inaugural Board of Directors is appointed, then they will function independently but in conjunction with the board. The first meeting for them is set for September 17th. So upon approval of the foundation board members next week, I will I've sort of given them a save the date for that date, but let them know that they're officially approved and to come. Mr. Riker Jr. as board president, Mr. Mavis as business manager, and myself will serve as advisors to that foundation, but non-voting members, so that we can ensure that the work that they're doing is aligned with the work that we're doing as well. I've had some really positive meetings with those inaugural members and just some talented and passionate and just community-minded people, so I'm really excited to get it started. And you do have a list of those board of directors names in your folder. Any questions there? Then if you move forward a couple of slides, Mr. Ryan, our next item is discussion of long-range building options. So I just wanted to bring us back to the Alloy 5 study in an effort. I think there's been a lot of discussion, but an effort to reduce options. We are at a point right now where you're gonna see that option A is about some basic infrastructure improvements, specifically addressing concerns at the middle school. I don't wanna see us get in a position as a school district in a community where we're forced into A because we've allowed preventative maintenance to decrease over time, waiting for a decision to be made. So we did have some like leaking in the middle school this summer that we've addressed, but issues like that at the middle school I think will continue to grow over time if we kind of keep punting that decision. So I just brought this back. The community and you all have seen these slides before and have them in book form, but I just wanted to kind of quickly review and then open for discussion. So you'll see choice A that was put before us was just doing infrastructure improvements in the 4 existing buildings. If you go to the next slide, Mr. Ryan, you'll see then choice B is infrastructure improvements, but also a middle school renovation. I do think A is an extremely short-term solution, and that if we wanted to go in the place where we just stayed in our 4 existing buildings, the reality would be that we'd have to do some larger renovation work at the middle school, putting us in this choice B that would be putting around $40 million into the middle school. Choice C that was presented was a grade realignment where the primary school would become a K-3 building, Liberty Valley would become a 4-6 building, and 7th and 8th grade would get added to the high school. So it would be a realignment and an abandonment of the middle school. That would obviously be additional conversation to say, are we selling that property, leasing it, those kinds of things. But that was choice C. If you look at the next slide, you'll see some financials connected to choice C. Then choice D, if you recall, was having a primary or an elementary campus and a secondary campus. And so in that sense, we had the high school would stay the high school, the primary school, the current primary building would turn into a middle school for 6 to 8. So here on this campus would be all secondary students. And all of our sports fields are here. Students could be bused here together in that 6 to 12 the way that they're bused right now, and we'd make this a secondary campus. There's additional property at Liberty Valley, so an actual cheaper option more than adding on to Liberty Valley, because sometimes when you add on to a building, you have to correct any problems within it. You could actually just build an adjacent building and have a K-3 building, or a K-2 building, and a 3 to 5 building, but on the Liberty Valley campus, which would make an elementary a primary or an elementary campus. So kindergarten through 5th grade would be at the Liberty Valley location. 6th to 12th grade would be at this location. There would not really need to be busing between locations. Right now, we bus separately, elementary and secondary, and all athletics and extracurriculars only take place at the secondary level. So that was choice D. If you go forward one slide, you'll see some construction costs there. The Liberty Valley, the addition of a school would obviously have to happen. You could do this in phases where then later, if you look at the next slide, you'll see that we would want to do some changes to the primary school. You could do phases of like get the second building ready at Liberty Valley, then renovate this building. This building is obviously our newest and in our best shape of buildings. Renovations here would just look like things like middle schoolers don't need a bathroom in their room the way like a kindergarten class does. They'd need a bigger gym. But those are, I mean, one could argue needs versus wants, but at least fit a little more as wants than an actual physical place to be. And then if you go to the next slide, this is just a summary. I did remove, and you can tell me if you want to see it back, but I think I'd have to say no again. I did remove choice E, which was everyone here on one campus, because we'd be looking at $123 million, which is beyond our borrowing capacity. So it's not really Molly shutting it down. It's just reality shutting it down. So again, if you were just to look through those 4 choices, A is just a little bit of punt into the future. We're just doing some improvements in each building. It's sort of, I would call it a survival choice. B is we want to put more significant money into the middle school. C is that we're making the primary school K to 3, Liberty Valley 4 to 6, the high school 7 to 12. And D is where we have a secondary campus and an elementary campus. I do think that if we go down the path of narrowing this down, we'd want to relook at some numbers. I do think that there's a little cushion in those numbers, and it's a little more on the Taj Mahal end, if you will. So I think there's some savings to be found. But at the same time, I'd also name that every year we push this into the future, construction costs increase. So, there's that balancing act there. So I just wanted to re-invite board discussion and review that A through E choices that Alloy 5 presented in the winter to the group.
I think C or D are the only viable choices that we have to pick between C and D.
Because B's just a definite Band-Aid, and you're not far from C and D, so.
Right, you're sinking 50 million into something that won't be a long-term permanent solution. If you do A, you're still sinking 25 million into something that's going to end up costing us more in the end because we did that instead of doing what we actually needed to do. And so you're looking at C or D. And my personal bias is to build over at Liberty Valley. I mean, we have the land. And put a building over there. I think that helps with busing as well, right? Because then there's 2 separate campuses that are actually only. So there's a lot of good things about doing that. I mean, I worry a little bit about the traffic, but
Mr. Garman has over his time in service so far, said things like, it's time for Danville to just finally do it all the way right. And so when I hear you talking about that, it feels like what you talk about there. And I would say that one does feel we're really planning for the future. Like we're organizing the district in a logical way.
I mean, I think D would be my choice if I was given a choice, but it's not my choice.
I mean, the reality of it is really, or you renovate what you have, because we have nowhere else to go.
Correct.
I mean, that's the
figure
bottom line.
Unless we could build on the field next door. No, just kidding.
Is that figuring the numbers to build another gymnasium for?
Yeah, so the D would have, those numbers would be full reconstruction of this building in there too. So that's why I just wanted to name that. I do think that could be sort of shaved down and done in phases.
What I'd be curious to know is, again, not that I'm advocating for the middle school, but what I'd really like to know is I'd really like to have somebody come in and give us an honest evaluation of how bad that building really is.
And that's if it's Yeah, if it's decided to sell, like that's either, might be a negative side of trying to get rid of it, but, yeah, I mean, it's something that's never been done in depth.
I mean, because I think, what was it, KCBA came in and gave us an evaluation several years ago. Alloy 5 came in. And from what I've heard from KCBA, I wasn't here, but from what I heard, their evaluation, Alloy 5s were pretty similar. And both of those were basically architect firms that basically push us in a direction to build new, which is what architect firms will do. I think I'd like to see somebody come in and actually give us an evaluation of what the building really is. And if it, you know, I trust what Tim says as far as the building's condition, but, you know, if we're spending taxpayer dollars on this, I think I'd like to know really what's behind the walls. Like, what are we working with? I mean, again, I'm not advocating to keep the building. I would like to see option D, but I'd like to know what kind of an asset we have on our hands too. So when it comes time to put it on the market for sale, we know what we have. And right now we have no clue. So we could put a price tag of, let's put it out for 500,000 and it's worth 150 when it all comes down to it.
And there'll be people, I mean, no matter what option you go with, they're gonna wanna know why the middle school is being abandoned, which, I mean, general knowledge, everybody can put it together, but some people will need to be told.
organized tours.
Yeah, yeah, it's, yeah.
I just want to make sure I'm understanding in terms of some next steps. Are you feeling like we'd want to put out to bid, like a study of the condition of the middle school that's not connected to any long-range planning for us, but is just an evaluation of that property? Is that what I'm hearing as a next step?
I mean, I don't think it would be a bad step to make, and I'm not even sure if it would be something that maybe somebody would, I mean, I don't know what the cost of something like that would be. I don't think it would be a substantial amount.
I genuinely don't know that.
But again, like Tyler just mentioned, that would give us something to say to people, here's why. This is why.
Packet to take down to the shop. We'll give you a packet to take down to the shop.
I mean, we do have,
When it come in, you just.
we do have somewhat of an answer to why. I mean, it may not be satisfying, but we do have an evaluation by multiple people. We may think they've been in cahoots, but you can't refute what they list as parts of the condition of the building. I mean, I have no problem if you want to spend additional money getting someone else to come in that's not associated with an architect firm. If you think that has value, I mean, that's fine. I mean, I can't imagine it's going to be massively expensive to do that. But you can already point and say, hey, we have a whole laundry list of the issues in that building. You can argue about whether that's a, you know, a $50 million problem or a $30 million problem. But you can't argue with the reality that, you know, the theater has huge issues, not just sound, but structural, that there's issues with the roof, that there's issues with the heating system, that there's, I mean, those just exist because it's an old building. Not even to get into the fact that it's essentially in a floodplain, right? And has been flooded before, and I'm sure will inevitably be flooded again.
And one of the factors in the cost there is when you start addressing those things, it does have to become ADA compliant. So one of the things Alloy 5 did share with us, and I'd be happy to share out again sort of their analysis of the middle school, was that every single doorway in that school is not ADA compliant. So that's how you get a higher, like that alone,
Right.
like you start touching that building, every classroom, every office, the entrance to those rooms would have to be reconstructed because of today's standards for ADA compliance.
Essentially, you're going to spend money to have somebody come in and tell you what you already know. It's kind of a waste, in my opinion.
I mean,
It's not, you know, you start touching that building, things have to be done.
we do have that laundry list, and we can make that laundry list public.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a dead giveaway. I mean, just the entry doors. I mean, you're not gonna get around that. So, I mean, just that in itself, you know what I mean, is already, I mean, I kind of have to agree that, you know, in certain ways, I'd like to have a second opinion, but at the same token is I just stop the continuous spending to find out that we have to face reality that we're gonna have to make a decision of C or D. Some will be happy, some won't be, but, you know.
And the only,
More unhappy than happy.
the only reason I'd be for it is like the aspect of selling it. Cause, I mean, in reality, it's going to go somewhere someday. You know what I mean? No matter who wants it or who, you know, I think to be upfront and know what somebody's getting into. And like he said, you know, could be you know, we want $500,000 for it and somebody can come in and tell you it's worth 200, you know what I mean? So if it's not a giant expense, I'm not against it, but
I mean, that isn't something we need to know a priori, but yeah, if people feel strongly, it's not the end of the world.
That's something you'd have to do potentially when you're ready to sell it.
Yeah.
Right.
Doesn't
Right.
necessarily
That's
have
why
to
I'm
be
saying
done now.
we
yeah.
don't necessarily have to hold up anything in order
Yeah,
to do that.
yeah.
I mean, that's the flip side. I
I
mean,
think
I
the
don't
general
think
consensus is putting a ton of money into that building is not
it's a bad idea.
a smart, responsible.
No one's gonna come in and give me information that's convincing that we should pick that option.
Agree.
I mean, so, I mean, we can talk and chew gum. I mean, walk and chew gum. We can't talk and chew gum, but we can walk. So, I mean, I guess we can work on that as a siloed piece, but we still should move forward with C and D. Because literally the costs are going up every day. So, I don't know.
So I guess, what should the next step be then for moving forward with one of those plans?
Well, that's the question, right? I mean, do people on the board need a moment to look so we can say, yes, we're going to move forward with something?
I think that'd be the best bet, you know, if Lance can kind of guide us, you know, financially, you know, where we're gonna be, impact it's gonna be, I mean.
Because if we add the addition to the high school, if we put 7 and 8 in the high school, and I think you and I have talked about this a little bit, that would take administration out of the high school. So
Yes.
we'd be looking to relocate administration, which we have potentially some space already that we could do that in an existing building already. That would be, then we'd be looking to add a gymnasium potentially down the road because we would need a gymnasium space. They could share an auditorium, I think we talked about.
Yes, we would need to do construction to the library area and the admin office area to add additional classrooms. We would ultimately need a cafeteria addition and a gymnasium addition to have all of those students there. So that construction would have to happen at the high school. There'd be reconfiguration of some parking potentially as well. And then this building would become a middle school, or I'm sorry, not in that plan. This building would be K-3 in that plan, so there would not need to be construction here or construction at Liberty Valley. The construction would be at the high school.
I think I would go with D, honestly.
Agree.
I mean, it's cheaper, you get a brand-new building out of it, right? Instead of just renovations. And you get consolidation of the campuses. So you get a bunch of things that you don't get out of C, right?
just a basic look at it, the high school's the second oldest building in the district, isn't it? So you're renovating something that's going to need renovated most likely again in the future.
Correct.
Like, so.
In a different way.
Yeah.
Than the way that we're
And
actually.
I mean, the
renovating
middle
it.
school, the middle school has been an issue and been talked about since I was down there, and we're still talking about fixing or get rid of it. So move forward, and you know, next one will be talk about the high school for 20 years, the issues it has. So like,
At least it's not getting flooded.
yeah, it's falling apart, but water doesn't run through it.
Tim, from your perspective, being in and out of the buildings and so forth, I mean, do you have any input on what you would prefer?
– 2011, yeah. Some of the drawings that they presented did show that version, where it was more of an L shape than up the hill. I think that for a quick next step, what we could do to bring here, and then the public would also see, is just a list of concerns about from the middle school, because I do think from our past 2 studies, and then just certainly from Tim and his team's expertise, we could pretty clearly lay out talking points, I guess, if you will, for why that's not the place that we need to be in the long run, and just make some of those, or just the facts are there. So if that's where you want to be, we understand in A and B all the things that would need to get fixed if we went with A or B. So we could bring that next week for you all to see. And then conversation around C or D. I don't want to cut off other thoughts about where other people are seeing those 2 options.
I mean, I think the consensus in this room right now is D is probably the way we should head. How do we get there, I guess, is the financial question.
Yeah, that's it's going to be a challenge for B, C, or D. You know, be honest about that. All of those projects push us up against, you know, the very upper limits of our borrowing capacity. A rough rule of thumb you could use is that for each additional $1 million in debt service that the district adds in yearly expense, we can probably borrow approximately $20 million. So essentially we need to be operating on an approximately $3 million surplus to afford a $60 million project without dipping into fund balance. You know, now that we're kind of moving into some of these particular projects, we can get, you know, a full debt study done with our bond counsel. We can start looking at like some 5-year projections with, of course, some different, you know, over 5 years, we need to consider different scenarios. There are some scenarios, you know, that obviously would not be pleasant to look at, and then some that, you know, allow us to do some of these projects. I do think it's important to note that once we start down a path of a project, how important it is to have built that consensus about what that project is, because these projects take years to complete, and they're very challenging, and they can stress communities. And one of the worst things that can happen, and it's happened at some other local communities, is you get started, you get millions and millions of dollars involved, and then the challenges start to build, and that pressure cracks, and then there's
People change their mind.
taxpayer money wasted, and so that's something that I really want to avoid here. It's but you know, I think the financial picture, you know, we talked about it sort of ad nauseum during the spring. The financial picture from the state changed pretty dramatically, and we're stuck in that 7-year path. It seems. Cyber charter is such a terrible expense in my view, because we spend about $800,000 in outside cyber charter expenses on institutions that aren't producing the results that we're producing. If we had those funds back and we converted into debt service, there's approximately, you know, $16 to $17 million of a project that we're sending outside of our community. So we're sending local wealth out of our community with the way that's structured, and that, you know, among other things, bothers me greatly.
What is the potential value of the middle school? It is the building in such bad shape that a potential buyer couldn't use that building, they'd have to tear it down. So
School buildings.
You're just talking about land, not the building.
Yeah, school buildings generally do not sell for significant dollar figures. I think Turbotville Elementary School sold for $600,000 or something like that. That's a pretty, like, several $100,000 is a pretty common amount. So in terms of funding any of these projects, we shouldn't count on being able to utilize that for anything else. I think one of the biggest factors for us to consider is how can that building still be an effective part of the community is something that would be on my mind.
Well, other than being in the flood zone, I mean, it's a nice location. And I don't know, you know, they've done all this work with, you know, putting up the flood walls and whatnot. How great is the potential for it being flooded again? You know, I don't know.
That's been my question all along, because
There are certainly, although it's an important, I think, location to our community, there are other concerns about a school physically being located there. It is not ideal to have a school with railroad tracks as the entrance and only one way to get in and out of that building in terms of the layout of the roads, because water sits behind it, and not ideal to be next to a sewage treatment plant. So if you just picture the middle school, basically everything it's surrounded by, not ideal.
The railroad track may be important for a potential buyer
It could be.
to have rail.
Yes, less ideal
access.
for a school to have a train blocking the
Yeah,
only entrance in and out, but
they're getting in and out of there. Not that this could be any better, but, you know, if you take some of the traffic out of town, you know, it's gonna put some that, so.
I mean, if you found the right buyer, it may be potentially, that land may be worth potentially a lot of money. If you get the state to come in and say, you know, the odds of this getting flooded again are very small because of what we've done, the mitigation we've done in flood control.
they haven't removed it from the flood zone, but perhaps they could provide some additional information. In terms of next steps, we can bring a more thorough presentation of middle school concerns, just so you all and the public are aware of that. And then here with a little more time, do a presentation of finances and talk about what does it look like for us to get to a $50 million marker or a $60 million marker. Because the other thing we can do with a choice like D, I'm not saying that we can turn a $70 million projection into a $40 million projection, but we could choose to go with a firm for that construction and say, here's where we're at. Like, this is over time what we have. What does that look like? What can that get us? And see if there is a viable path there. So Mr. Mavis can do some work to say, what would it look like for us to hit some